The alien was already dying when the crowd walked away. Not slowly, not politely. They just turned, one by one, and left it there on the cargo bay floor of docking station Orion 7, bleeding something dark and thick from a wound the size of a fist in its side. The station's overhead lights buzzed with that particular cold indifference that only fluorescent things can manage. Nobody said anything. Nobody stopped. A Keth warrior, 7 feet of scaled muscle and ceremonial armor, was leaking out onto a floor nobody wanted to clean. And the entire interstellar community of Orion 7 had silently agreed that this was not their problem. There were 43 beings in that corridor. 42 of them left. The one who stayed was Cal Dover, age 51. Retired U.S. Army combat medic. He currently employed as a cargo manifest inspector for a mid-tier freight company that smelled like burnt coffee and broken promises. He had a bad knee, a thermos in his left hand, and exactly 0 reasons to be anyone's hero today. He knelt anyway. "Hey." He set the thermos down. "Hey, look at me." The Keth warrior's eyes were the color of deep amber, and they were losing focus the way eyes do when the body is running a calculation and coming up short. 4 arms, 2 folded against its chest in what Cal had read was a death posture. The Keth did not ask for help, ever. It was a cultural wall the height of a mountain, and Cal had read enough of the Galactic integration briefings to know it. He also knew a sucking chest wound when he saw one. Close enough anyway. Different biology, same math. "You're losing pressure," Cal said. Not to start a conversation, but because talking helped him think. He unzipped his jacket. Standard cargo inspector uniform underneath, but he always kept a field kit in his left vest pocket, out of a habit that 11 years of service had welded into his nervous system. He had been told 3 separate times by 3 separate station managers that it was unnecessary. He had smiled each time and kept it anyway. He pressed the emergency seal pad against the wound. The Keth made a sound like a steel cable snapping. "I know," Cal said. "I know. Hold still." Around them, the corridor was empty now. Even the station's automated cleaning drone had rerouted itself. Cal noticed that with the flat portion of his brain that noticed things without commenting on them, the rest of his brain was counting. Pulse, pressure, the color of the bleeding, and the rate of it, whether the armor needed to come off or whether pulling it would make things worse. Worse, he decided. Leave it. "You have a name?" he asked. The Keth said something that sounded like gravel being fed through a fan. "I'll take that as yes," Cal said. "I'm Cal. You're going to be fine. Probably. I've worked with worse odds." That was not entirely true, but bedside manner had never been about accuracy. He pressed his comm badge. "Orion Medical. This is Inspector Dover at Cargo Corridor C7. I have a Keth warrior with a penetrating wound. Active hemorrhage. I need a team down here now." A pause. "Inspector Dover." The voice on the other end had the specific tone of someone who had already decided the answer before hearing the question. "Keth patients require specialist clearance under Galactic Treaty Article 9, Section 4. We cannot dispatch without authorization from a Keth cultural liaison, which..." "He's going to be dead in 8 minutes, Cal said. "You want to finish that sentence?" Another pause. Longer. "We'll contact the liaison office." "Great," Cal said. "You do that." He cut the comm and looked down at the warrior, who was looking back at him with those amber eyes that were now focused again. Not on the wound. On Cal. "They're not coming," the Keth said. The basic galactic trade language was rough in its mouth, like a language it had learned to tolerate rather than speak. "Probably not fast enough," Cal agreed. So we do this the old way. The Keth blinked. A slow blink, which Cal had read meant something between confusion and reassessment. You are not afraid of the treaty violation, it said. I'm afraid of a lot of things, Cal said, checking the seal pad. Holding. Good. Treaty paperwork's not on the list. He reached back into the kit, the Keth biology primer he had downloaded 3 years ago as a casual read, because Cal was the kind of man who read things like that on long cargo shifts, was now earning its place in his brain. Keth had a secondary circulatory node on the left dorsal side. If that was hit, the seal pad alone wasn't going to be enough. He needed to know. Your left side, he said. Below the main wound. Is there pain there? The Keth considered this. The consideration itself was interesting, Cal thought. Not evasion. Actual consideration, as if admitting to pain required a decision. Yes, it said finally. Cal exhaled through his nose. Secondary node. All right. Okay, he said. This is going to get more complicated. But you're still here, and I'm still here, and that's 2 more things going right than wrong. From somewhere deeper in the station, boots on deck plating. Not medical. Security by the sound of it. 2 sets. Unhurried. The Keth heard them too. Its 4 arms shifted. Even now, bleeding through a sealed wound, its instincts were reaching for a fight it didn't have the blood pressure to finish. Don't, Cal said, not unkindly. Let me handle the talking. The Keth looked at him again. That look. Cal had seen it before, not on aliens, on kids in Humvees who had just realized the person next to them was the only thing standing between them and a very bad outcome. It was not trust exactly. It was something thinner and more honest than trust. For it was the moment a person ran out of other options and decided, fine. This one. Okay, the Keth said. The security officers rounded the corner. Human, both of them, with the body language of men who wanted this to be someone else's shift problem. Inspector Dover, the taller one said. We've been asked to, assess the situation. Situation's assessed, Cal said without looking up. Get me a level 2 med cart and someone who's actually going to do something, or get out of my light. The shorter one started to say something about protocols. Cal looked up then. Just once. Just long enough. The shorter one stopped talking. Cal turned back to his patient. Okay, he said quietly, mostly to himself. Okay. Let's figure out how to keep you alive until someone with better equipment shows up. The Keth's breathing had steadied. He barely, but steadied. Why? It said after a moment. Cal thought about that for a second. Not the answer. He knew the answer. He was thinking about how to say it in a way that didn't sound like a speech. Because you're hurt, he said, and I know how to help. That's it. That's the whole thing. The amber eyes blinked again. Somewhere overhead, the fluorescent light buzzed on. The Keth breathed. Cal worked. The med cart arrived 11 minutes later, pushed by a junior medic named Diane, who looked about 24 and absolutely terrified, and had clearly been the only one willing to come. Cal did not hold that against her. He had been 24 once, terrified plenty, and had still shown up. Secondary circulatory node, left dorsal, he said as she arrived. I've got the primary sealed. He's been stable for about 4 minutes. You know Keth biology? I have the basic module, Diane said. Good enough. Work with me. She did. The Keth warrior, whose name Cal would later learn translated roughly as one who walks back from the edge, had 3 cracked rib equivalents, a ruptured minor vessel near the secondary node, and a wound that had been, according to Diane's scanner, Approximately 9 minutes from fatal when Cal had knelt down. He had gotten there with about 10 minutes to spare. The math, as always, was unpleasant to look at directly. When the real medical team finally arrived, badges gleaming and expressions carefully neutral, the Keth was stable and sitting up, and Cal was sitting on the floor next to it, with his back against the wall and his thermos, finally, in his hand. The coffee was cold. He drank it anyway. The lead medical officer looked at Cal with an expression that wanted to be disapproval, but kept sliding into something else. "Inspector Dover," she said, "you are aware that treatment of a Keth national without liaison authorization is a Grade 3 protocol deviation." "Yeah," Cal said. "Write it up." She did not write it up. The Keth looked at Cal one more time before they took it to the medical bay. It said something in its own language, not trade, its own. Diane, who had the translation module running, went quiet for a second. "What did it say?" Cal asked. She looked at him. It said, "I will remember your name." Cal drank his cold coffee. "Okay," he said. 3 days later, a Keth diplomatic vessel, class designation unknown and not listed in any public registry, were docked at Orion 7 without filing approach paperwork. The station master nearly had a medical event of his own. The vessel's communications officer sent exactly one message to the station. It was addressed to Cal Dover, Cargo Manifest Inspector, Bay C. It said, "The warrior lives. The clan has been informed. We are told you acted alone. We are told you acted without incentive. We do not have a word for this in our language. We have been using yours. The word is decent. We think it is not a big enough word. We are working on a better one." Cal read it twice. He saved it to the same folder where he kept his discharge papers and a photo of his unit taken outside a forward operating base in a country that no longer had the same name. Then he went back to checking cargo manifests. The knee still hurt. The coffee was still bad. It was, in all things considered, a good morning. The Keth warrior's name was something Cal's vocal cords would never correctly pronounce, so it told him to use the trade approximation, which came out as something like Vreth. Cal used it. Vreth used Cal. Both of them understood this was a negotiation in the shape of a name. Vreth was not supposed to still be on Orion 7. Keth warriors, when recovered enough for transport, returned to clan territory within 48 hours as a matter of cultural code. To remain longer was an admission of dependency, and the Keth had very specific feelings about dependency. Feelings that mostly involved not having any. Vreth remained. The medical staff noted this. The station master noted this. 3 separate diplomatic observers noted this and filed reports that nobody read. Cal noticed it on day 4 when he walked past the medical bay on his lunch break and saw a 7-foot armored figure sitting in the corridor outside it. 4 arms folded, watching the foot traffic with the stillness of something that had decided to become part of the architecture. Cal stopped. Vreth looked at him. "You are still here," Vreth said. "I work here," Cal said. "You don't." "I am healing." "Medical bay's that way," Cal said, pointing. "I heal better in corridors," Vreth said, in a tone that did not invite follow-up questions. Cal looked at it for a moment. Then he sat down on the floor against the opposite wall, opened his lunch, and started eating. Vreth watched this with the air of something recalibrating. "You're not going to ask me to leave," Vreth said. "Not my corridor," Cal said. Vreth was quiet for a while. The station hummed around them, foot traffic parting automatically around the Keth the way water parts around something large and certain. "On my world," Vreth said, "when a warrior is wounded and cannot defend, the clan withdraws. It is tradition. The wounded must prove their return, alone." Cal ate his sandwich. Sounds rough, he said. It is efficient, Vreth said. The weak do not. It stopped. Reconsidered. It is our way. Sure, Cal said. Vreth looked at him. You do not agree. I didn't say that. Your face said it. Cal thought about that. His face had been saying things without his permission for about 30 years. Occupational hazard. I just think, he said carefully, that what looks like weakness from the outside is sometimes the thing that keeps you alive long enough to be strong again. But I'm not Keth. What do I know? Vreth was quiet for a long time. The station hummed. Somewhere 2 corridors over, a cargo loader beeped 3 times and fell silent. My wound, Vreth said, was not from battle. Cal did not look up from his lunch. Okay, he said. Vreth waited, the way beings wait when they expect a question. Cal didn't ask one. It was from my own clan, Vreth said. A dispute, a decision I made that they considered. The trade language clearly didn't have the word it needed. Wrong. Cal finished the sandwich, started on an apple. The apple was not great, but it was an apple, and he had learned a long time ago to eat what was available. So they stabbed you, he said. The word is formal censure, Vreth said. Right, Cal said. Vreth's 4 arms shifted. You are not surprised. I've been in organizations, Cal said. Sometimes the people who decide what's wrong are the ones doing the most damage. That's not unique to any species I've met. Vreth looked at him with those amber eyes that had been dying and were now something else entirely. What did I decide? Vreth said slowly. That could possibly matter to you. Nothing yet, Cal said. Might later. Doesn't change the math from day one. The math. You were hurt, I could help. Everything else is extra. Vreth sat with that for a moment, the way large things sit with small truths. Carefully, aware of the weight. My clan, Vreth said, will come for me when I am strong enough to face them. And the censure is not finished. I figured, Cal said. They are not. Vreth paused. They will not negotiate. Cal stood up, knees complaining about it in the usual way. He looked at Vreth. How many? He asked. Vreth blinked slowly. That is not your concern, it said. I didn't say it was, Cal said. I asked a number. The amber eyes did something complex. The Keth had many expressions that Cal couldn't read yet. This one he was starting to learn. It was the expression of something that had decided to stop calculating and start answering. 7, Vreth said. Cal nodded, picked up his lunch container. Okay, he said. You've got time. Let's make it count. He walked back to work. Vreth sat in the corridor for another hour, completely still. And anyone who passed and looked closely enough would have noticed that the amber eyes were not watching the foot traffic anymore. They were watching the direction Cal Dover had gone. Diane found Cal in Cargo Bay C at the end of his shift. She had the look of someone who had been working up to a conversation for several hours and had finally run out of corridor to burn. The Keth in the medical wing, she said. Vreth, Cal said. Right, Vreth. She hesitated. The liaison office called. The diplomatic vessel is pushing for him to board. They're saying his presence here is creating a political situation. I imagine it is, Cal said. They want him moved. Moved where? Back to Keth space, or at minimum, onto the diplomatic vessel. Cal looked at her. What does Vreth want? Diane blinked. I don't think anyone asked him. Cal set down his scanner. Ask him, he said. Diane looked at him for a moment with that particular expression that young people get when they are deciding whether the older person in the room is being brave or being reckless. Cal had worn that expression himself once, a long time ago, looking at sergeants who seemed constitutionally incapable of picking the easier path. "What if he says he wants to stay?" she said. "Then he stays," Cal said. "He's not cargo. We don't move him without his input." "The liaison office can file a complaint," Cal said. "I'll sign it myself if they want." Diane left. She came back 20 minutes later. "He wants to stay," she said. "Okay," Cal said. "Then tell the liaison office he's under observation for secondary circulatory complications and cannot be safely transported at this time." Diane looked at him. "Is that true?" she asked. Cal considered the question seriously. "It could become true very fast if he were moved incorrectly," he said. "So let's not move him incorrectly." Diane almost smiled. "You're going to get written up for this entire week," she said. "Probably," Cal said. "How's his pressure looking?" "Stable. Improving." "Good," Cal said. "That's the part that matters." He picked up his scanner again and went back to the manifest. The diplomatic vessel sent 2 more messages that evening, each one increasingly formal, which in Cal's experience meant increasingly ineffective. He read them both and responded to neither. Vreth, informed of the exchange by Diane, said nothing for a long time. Then it said, "In Keth, there is a rank. It has no trade equivalent. It is given to those who hold a line when others have left it, not because they must, because they know how." Diane relayed this to Cal the next morning. Cal thought about it while checking a cargo manifest for a shipment of compressed ore canisters. "Tell him I said thanks," he said. Diane relayed this. Vreth's response was, "It was not a compliment. It was a classification." Cal did not know exactly what that meant. He suspected it was going to matter later. On day 6, the diplomatic vessel left without Vreth. On day 7, a different ship arrived. No markings, no registry. It docked at the outer ring and did not respond to standard hailing. Cal was walking corridor C9 when his comm badge went off. Diane. "Cal." Her voice had lost its usual even quality. "The unmarked ship. Station sensors just flagged 7 life signs aboard. Keth." Cal stopped walking. "Vreth know?" he asked. "He told us," she said. "He said, and I'm quoting here, 'They are early. I miscalculated.'" Cal looked down the corridor. Empty. The station's mid-shift lull, everyone at their posts or their meals, the artificial lighting doing its best impression of an afternoon nobody was buying. "Where is he now?" Cal asked. "Medical bay. He's up and moving. They can't stop him. He's—" The comm cut. Not interference. Pressure. A sound that was not a sound, but that Cal's nervous system recognized from years of standing next to things about to go wrong. He was already moving, bad knee and all. The medical bay corridor was not empty when Cal got there. Vreth was standing in the center of it, upright, 4 arms loose at its sides, in what the posture guide Cal had read classified as a pre-engagement stance. The wound was sealed and healing, but the armor still had the dark staining from 6 days ago, and the amber eyes were the most focused Cal had seen them. Facing Vreth, not close yet but approaching, were 4 Keth, armored heavier than Vreth. No clan markings visible, which meant either they had removed them or they were from a unit that didn't use them. Cal filed that detail. Diane was against the far wall. Frozen, which was the correct call. Between Vreth and the 4 approaching, there was maybe 8 feet of corridor. Cal walked into it. Not fast, not performing anything. Just walked in and stopped between them. Hands loose, the way he had stood between things before. The bad knee held. The 4 Keth stopped. Vreth said something sharp in its own language. Cal didn't have the module running. The tone needed no translation. The lead Keth looked at Cal. Its eyes were different from Vreth's. Colder. The kind of cold that wasn't temperature. Move, it said in trade language. No, Cal said. A pause that had weight in it. You are one human, the lead Keth said. Yeah, Cal said. You cannot stop this. Cal looked at it steadily. 51 years old. A bad knee. A thermos somewhere back in Cargo C. The same flat certainty that had once made a sergeant look at a 23-year-old and say, "Kid, you are either the bravest person here or you have no functioning sense of danger." And the 23-year-old had said, "Sergeant." Those might be the same thing. Maybe not, Cal said. But you're going to have to go through me to find out. And the station's already logged your ship. And there are 3 security cameras in this corridor that are definitely recording. And when this is over, however it goes, every detail gets transmitted to the Galactic Record Office, the Human Diplomatic Corps, and personally to whoever runs the Interstellar Treaty Commission these days. The lead Keth's eyes did not change. You would risk yourself, it said, for a censured warrior. I would, Cal said. Why? Cal glanced back at Vreth. Vreth was watching him with an expression Cal had never seen on a Keth face, and might have been the first time he was seeing it at all. He turned back to the lead Keth. Because he's mine now, Cal said. Not property, responsibility. I pulled him back from the edge, so I've got a stake in what happens to him. That's how it works where I'm from. The lead Keth stood very still. Behind Cal, Vreth said something in its language. Quiet. Not a challenge. Something else. The lead Keth looked past Cal to Vreth. A long look. Then it looked at Cal again. The clan will hear of this, it said. I hope so, Cal said. The 4 Keth turned and walked back the way they had come. Cal stood in the corridor until the sound of them was gone. Then he turned around. Vreth was looking at him. You said I was yours, it said. Figure of speech, Cal said. Keth do not have that figure of speech, Vreth said. I know, Cal said. Vreth's forearms shifted. Then it did something Cal had never seen a Keth do in any of the documentation he had read. It lowered its head. Not a bow. A deeper than a bow. The posture that the primer, somewhere in the back of his memory, had listed as reserved for. He remembered. Clan acknowledgement. Given only to those considered blood-linked. Cal stood very still. Vreth, he said carefully. I should tell you I'm not actually Keth. I am aware, Vreth said, head still lowered. So, I'm not sure I can... The gesture, Vreth said, is not about what you are. It is about what you did. It raised its head. The amber eyes were clear, steady, the clearest Cal had seen them. There will be more of them, Vreth said. The clan does not abandon a censure. Those 4 will report. Others will come, with authority. I know, Cal said. And you will still be here, Vreth said. It was not a question. Cal thought about his cargo manifests, his cold coffee, his bad knee, the folder on his terminal with the discharge papers and the old photo. Yeah, he said. I'll still be here. Diane, from the far wall, let out a breath she had been holding for approximately 3 minutes. I'm going to need a lot more medical training for this job, she said. Cal almost smiled. Welcome to it, he said. The clan authority ship arrived on day 9. Not 1 ship, 3. Cal was informed by the station master, a man named Greg Pullman, who had the energy of someone permanently surprised by his own career choices, via a comm call that lasted 4 minutes and included the phrase, please understand, I am legally required to tell you to stop, approximately 3 times. Cal thanked him and kept walking. The formal delegation came through the main docking corridor, 12 Keth in ceremonial configuration, which Cal had read about but never expected to see in a fluorescent-lit cargo station hallway. It was like watching something ancient walk through a break room. Vreth stood at the corridor's midpoint. Cal stood next to him, not in front this time. Next to. Vreth had been specific about this. "This is my dispute," Vreth had said that morning. "You stand with me, not for me." "Understood," Cal had said. "You know our law?" Vreth had asked. "Some of it," Cal said. "I've been reading." Vreth had looked at him. "You read Keth law?" "I read a lot of things on slow cargo shifts," Cal said. "How much?" Vreth said. "Enough to know that a censure can be challenged if the original decision was made without full clan testimony, and that the challenged warrior has the right to name a witness stand, on which is someone who can speak to the warrior's conduct after the censure." Vreth had been very quiet for a moment. "You would be my witness stand," it said. "If you want," Cal said. "You are not Keth." "I know. The clan will object." "Probably," Cal said. "Do I have standing or not?" Vreth had considered this. "The law says the witness stand must be one who has acted in the warrior's defense without obligation or incentive. There is no clause about species." "Then I have standing," Cal said. Vreth had looked at him for a long time. "Yes," it said finally. "You do?" So Cal stood next to Vreth in the corridor and faced 12 Keth in ceremonial armor, and the lead authority, whose rank insignia Cal had looked up at 2 in the morning the night before, stepped forward. It spoke at length in its own language, on formal cadence. The words were structured, which Cal could tell even without translation. When it finished, Vreth responded. Shorter, direct. Then it turned to Cal and said, in trade language loud enough for all of them, "This is my witness stand. He acts under no obligation. He speaks with earned standing." The lead authority looked at Cal. Cal looked back. "Speak," the authority said, in accented but clear trade language. Cal had thought about this. Not the words exactly. The words had come on their own, on a night shift, staring at the cargo bay ceiling. He had just needed to find the shape of them. "I don't know what Vreth did that your clan decided was wrong," he said. "I don't know your politics or your internal rules. What I know is what I saw. I saw a warrior who was abandoned, who was bleeding, who could have spent his last strength trying to prove he didn't need help, and instead made a decision to let someone help him. That's not weakness. Where I'm from, that's the hardest thing a soldier ever learns. The ones who can't do it are the ones we lose. The ones who can, they're the ones who come back and do something worth counting. I don't know what Vreth is worth to your clan, but I know what he was worth to stick around for. And I'm here. So make of that what you will." Silence in the corridor, the kind that has math. The lead authority looked at Vreth, looked at Cal, looked at the 12 behind it. Then it said something in its own language. Vreth's posture changed. Barely. But Cal was watching for it. Something released. The authority spoke again in trade language, to Cal directly. "The witness stand's testimony is accepted. The clan will review the censure under full session. The warrior is not to be moved, pending review." It looked at Cal for a moment longer than necessary. "You read our law," it said. "Some of it," Cal said. "There is no human who has served as witness stand before," it said. "Probably not," Cal said. The authority looked at him with an expression that was not readable from any field guide Cal had ever opened. "There will be now," it said. Then the delegation turned and went back to their ships. Vreth stood beside Cal in the corridor that smelled like recycled air and freight, and the particular staleness of a place where too many species had breathed too long. "It is not over," Vreth said. "No," Cal said. "The review will take time, and the clan is not known for speed." "That's fine," Cal said. "I've got manifests." Vreth looked down at him. 7 feet of recovered warrior, armor still stained, amber eyes catching the fluorescent buzz overhead. "You are a strange human," it said. "I've been told," Cal said. "Is there a word?" Vreth said slowly. "In your language, for someone who walks into the space between two forces with nothing but certainty and expects this to be sufficient?" Cal thought about it. "A few words," he said. "Some of them compliments?" Vreth made the sound that Cal had come to understand was not a chuckle, but functioned like one in polite company. "The clan will remember your name," it said. "Not as a courtesy, as a record." "Okay," Cal said. He picked up his thermos from the floor where he had set it before the delegation arrived. The coffee was cold. He drank it anyway. Down the corridor, Diane was already on her comm, voice low and quick, telling someone what had just happened. Cal could tell by her tone that the story was already bigger in her telling than it had been in his living, which was how stories worked and was probably fine. Greg Pullman, the station master, appeared at the far end of the corridor, looked at Cal, looked at where the delegation had been, looked back at Cal, and visibly decided to go have lunch instead of having a conversation. Cal respected that. Vreth stood beside him in the silence. "You will be at your cargo manifests tomorrow," Vreth said. "Yep," Cal said. "And the day after." "That's generally how employment works," Cal said. "And if the clan returns with an unfavorable review." Cal finished the cold coffee. I capped the thermos. "Then we figure out the next thing," he said. "Same as always." Vreth was quiet. Then, "I did not die in that corridor." "No," Cal said. "You didn't. Because of you." "Because of you too," Cal said. "You held on. That's not nothing." Vreth looked at the ceiling, at the fluorescent lights buzzing their cold and indifferent buzz. "I will learn your law," it said, "the way you learned mine." "It's not very interesting," Cal said. "Neither is yours," Vreth said, "but you learned it." Cal laughed. Actual laugh. The kind that snuck out before he could organize it. Vreth's forearms shifted in something that the field guide would have called post-tension release, and which Cal was beginning to understand meant, in roughly equivalent terms, something like satisfaction, and they stood in the corridor together for another minute. Just two beings in a humming station at the edge of inhabited space, one of them taller than most doorways, and one of them with a knee that predicted rain. "Cal Dover," Vreth said. "Yeah," Cal said. "Thank you." Cal looked up at those amber eyes and thought about a folder on his terminal and a photo and a field kit in a vest pocket, and all the things a person carries forward from the life they lived before the life they are living now. "Anytime," he said. And he meant it.